Hello and welcome to Discussions on Loss and Grief with Ray Warner, the podcast where we shine a light on the often avoided topics of grief and loss, while also getting to know a little bit about some amazing people who are no longer with us. I'm your host, Ray Warner, and on today's episode, we're going to shift a focus a little bit from the last two episodes. The last two episodes, we dealt with loss of a spouse, and today's guest we're going to talk about a different kind of loss. The person that I'm interviewing is Lisa Iverson, and I will let her introduce herself. So, Lisa, please tell the audience the story, a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Ray. Well, I am a wife. I'm a mother of now an angel and one earthling. I have two grandchildren, two grandsons. They were my oldest son's they are my oldest son's children. I am also a in 2 weeks I will be a retired energy healer. And so I'm looking forward to that and see what the next chapter brings. I've also created a deck of cards and a journal for parents who have lost a child to suicide. And I'm currently working on one for support for first responders. So, yeah, that's who I am.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing yourself. And you kind of uh, started to mention what we're talking about today. So, tell the audience the story of your loss, please, if you could.
Well, in 2019, I lost my oldest son to suicide. And boy, I had no idea that this level of pain even existed in the world. I had no idea. And with all that pain, I really wanted to do something to help like other people, other parents going through this because I'm at the time that I did the cards and journals, I was pretty still very excruciating. It was the second year, and that was the second year is by far the worst. Um, so that's when I did these cards and um yeah, because I had to do something with all that grief. And it's not been an easy ride by any means, but I'm trying to, find the positive things because I know that's what he would want, you know, for me to do. And, he's around me all the time. He is constantly giving me signs, which I think is so awesome. But it's so weird because even though I mean he's constantly giving all of us signs, it's still he's not here. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I can't hug him. I can't give him a kiss on the top of his head. I can't, see him living his life. And so that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the little things when you've lost somebody, being able to hug them, being able to give them a
Yeah.
kiss, just being able to spend time with them.
Right. And watch his boys grow up. Now I have my two grandchildren and they don't have a dad anymore. So it's just been a real, I don't know. It's not a fun ride by any means.
How how are his children coping with how do you talk about this with them?
Well, the oldest one, who's now 11, he was 6 when my son passed away. They both know dad died, but the youngest one still does not know how because I feel like, he's just now he'll be 8 this year. So I know his counselor is going to start breaching that subject with him. That was about the time when we told his oldest son, and it just, it literally threw him in a tailspin for a good 6 months, 6 to 8 months, like not good, just because in finding out how. Um, but now he's both of them are doing well. I would say they miss him like crazy. And my oldest grandson wants to do a deck of cards for kids who have lost their parent. So at some point in time, I want to support him in doing that. so that's part of his healing journey, I guess. Um, but overall, they're doing pretty darn good given the circumstances. It's hard, it's like even at school, I mean, kids will make fun of the oldest one because he doesn't have a dad, or they'll say, "You're the reason why your dad's not here," or mean
Wow.
things.
Yeah.
And so it's like part of me inside is just cringing when the youngest one finds out how.
Yeah.
So that I'm not looking forward to.
So how has or what was the immediate impact on your life other than, what you've already kind of alluded to?
Just complete devastation. It was like literally just gutted. Like you know, I went back to work 2 weeks after. Being a healer, I thought being in that energy, helping other people, being in that calm, peaceful energy would be really good for me. And it felt like that was the thing, but it wasn't. In hindsight, was using it to distract myself because what do you do with a pain that big? Like,
Mhm.
that big pain. And so I did work for like about a year and a half after he passed away, and then I had to stop. Like I literally had nothing left to give him anybody at all.
Yeah.
So I just needed to stop for a little bit. So, and it changed all of our lives. It's almost like with such a piece missing, it's like there's kind of like Emily talks about grief and joy existing. It's like the grief and joy exists, but like even in the joy, there's always that loss. Yeah,
We're not supposed to outlive our children. That's
and
one
no,
of the things that, yeah.
yeah,
And
I know. It's like I literally would not wish this on anybody ever, 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 ever. It's no. Mm-mm.
I remember my wife, my first wife, when she passed, she was an only child. So her
Oh,
parents lost everything.
right? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And they were both still working at the time. Her father, it was like right away he retired. And her mother wasn't long after that. Or maybe it was the
Yeah,
other way around.
it's
I don't remember, but still they couldn't go on
no,
with
it's
the way
it's
life was.
completely devastating. It's so devastating. And you think about it, it's like, this little being, as a mom, I carried him inside for 9 months. You know what I mean? It was like, and it's just literally, it's like just this big piece is gone, just gone. And, even now, I mean, it'll be 5 years on October 8th. And it's like there's still times where it'll be like, oh God, yeah, that he's not here. Like you'll think of something that you want to tell him or whatever, and it's just
Mhm.
like, and then it just hits you all over again. Those waves, the waves.
Yeah. Yeah. The waves that come, some days they feel like they're less. Some days are like,
Mhm.
this just happened. That's the way that even 29 years later, for me, it's just some things hit harder than others.
Yeah. And do you remember everything about that day? Like, I remember
Clearly.
every little detail from the second I woke up that day.
Hmm. Yep. I
Yep.
remember it vividly.
Yep.
And that leads me to what my next question is, how has the impact changed over time, shifted for you?
Well, it's definitely not so intense all the time. Um, the waves that take you out at the knees are definitely way farther apart now, which I'm so grateful for. Um, yeah, in the beginning you don't know how you're going to even get through that. How do you even make it through that? And a lot of the people don't, that's
Yeah.
just it. They can't live without their child being here, which is I know it's excruciating. Um, but yeah, the impact is definitely not as intense as it was.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And how has your loss changed your view of the future?
Hmm. Well, it kind of it kind of makes things like some things that you thought were important before are just not important at all anymore. Like, I mean, it really does change your life.
Yeah.
You don't go out, you don't socialize as much, I feel like, or I don't know. It's like just being alone, just being home, whatever is like a more sacred space, if you
Mhm.
will. Um, yeah.
Has that view of the future shifted at all as time has gone on?
Yeah, I think so. It's like actually, I thought I would be doing energy work, healing work until, probably till I died. I mean, you can never not do that because it's it's not like a
Mhm.
rough profession on your body or anything really. But now it's like, that's in 2 weeks that'll be done and I don't know what's coming. And um this, he's not there. He's not in the future. But I try to always be positive about the future, especially for his kids,
Mhm.
because I have them a lot. And just, it's not that I don't look forward to the future because I do. But, like I said, it's just tough because he's not in it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm open to whatever comes my way in the future. I don't feel like I can't go on or, create new things or any of that sort of thing. Um, I'll probably always be creating something to help somebody, I'm sure, because that just seems to be like my jam. But
Yeah.
um, yeah.
So, based on your experience, what advice would you give to somebody who has just experienced a loss?
Oh boy. Um, my advice it would be to just let yourself feel it all, even though you feel like you're gonna die. Just let yourself feel it and don't go through that alone. Like, this is not something that you can go through alone. You have to have somebody, you know, even if it's just one person who can just be there with you and just, I mean, maybe not ever say a thing, just be with you and um check on you and all of the things. And
Mhm.
it's a rough ride. I'm not gonna lie, it's a terrible ride. It's horrible, but you can get through it. You absolutely can get through this
Mhm.
and keep going because I know that's what they all want us to do. They want us to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my experience too, is ride the wave,
Yep.
feel it, don't stuff it,
Yeah.
get support and keep going. And that's part of the point of this podcast is to let people know that there is life after loss
Yes.
and you get to keep going.
Yep. Exactly. And I mean, especially with the child, it's so excruciating that like it is almost it gets to be sometimes so impossible to just imagine yourself keeping going, but it's like the waves get further, they get further, and it's always going to hurt. It's just always going to hurt. It just is. And when you can just accept that and know that and just know that that little piece is going to be missing, but you keep going, it does get better. It absolutely does get better.
Yes, it does. So along those same lines, what advice would you give the family and friends of someone who's just experienced a loss on how to be around them and how to support them best?
One of the things you talked about, the food aspect of people bringing, oh my God, I can't even tell you how amazing that was for us, for my family, because the last thing you want to do is cook, right? And then you have all these people coming and going out of your house, at least for the first 2 weeks, whatever.
Mhm.
So the food part was amazing. And just letting the people know you're there. Even just like, I don't need a reply. I'm just sending you love and energy. Send it in a, messenger message or a text or it, just knowing that people were there and people loved me enough to check up on me, people that I wasn't really that close with. Now I am,
Yeah.
but just checking on me and making sure that I'm okay. And that just meant everything. And it's like, don't ask how, don't ask why. It's like that's such a personal thing. And if the person feels comfortable enough, they'll tell you.
Mhm.
But especially in the beginning, it's, I mean, as parents, we have all we can do to sort through anything that's going on in the beginning. So, and which is why I made the deck of cards in the journal, because I'm like, okay, this is a tool that at least they have after like the first 2 weeks,
Mhm.
3 weeks, whatever, to to have a little assistance of something there to support them.
Yeah.
And every journal and every deck of cards, I reikied the heck out of, so they have really good energy too, and lots of love in them for the people because
Mm.
I know what they're gonna feel like when they get these.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. That's a beautiful support. And,
thank
like I said about the food, it's not just when people are all coming, it's afterwards. It's almost just as important. It's like cook.
right.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
ready for that.
No, I mean it's like your mind is just checked out. And it was so weird because I think it was probably about 4 or 5 months after he had passed, I started losing my memory because the grief was now I know that's what it was. The grief was so crazy that I started losing my memory of just the simplest things. And I was scared. I'm like, what is going on? And I actually went and, funny, on his birthday, I went to the doctor and I'm like, I need help. I can't do this, So she gave me escitalopram or Zoloft, whatever it is. And I took it for exactly 1 year, from one birthday to the next birthday. Just it got me through that year.
Yeah.
But it's like all these weird things happen to you with intense grief, and it's nice to know that people have your back,
Yeah.
like a month later or 2 months or 6 months later, I still have people that check on me.
Yeah.
That's just so amazing. I'm so grateful and I'm so honored and just like so touched by that.
Yeah. That they're thinking of you and
Right.
taking time to check in on you, even now.
Even now. Yep. Even now. So yeah, it's important.
So, last question. Can you please describe for the listeners your son? Bring him to life as if he was here so that they get to know him as deeply as you can.
He he was all about living on the edge. He was he was a race car driver. He always had motorcycles and drove them like he probably shouldn't have driven them. He was a police officer. He was such a good police officer. I've seen both of my boys are police officers, but I've seen some of his dash cam videos after the fact, and he was just so, um, what do I want to call? Not nurturing or loving, but right there with the people, like that he had to haul in somewhere, whatever. He was his laugh was absolutely contagious. His laugh was hilarious, and he was very quiet unless he had something to say. Then it was like chatty Cathy. You couldn't stop him. And he was oh, he was just something else. He was awesome. I love him so dearly and miss him. But the cool part is I see him in his boys so much, which is really cool for me to see, which was really hard at first because especially the youngest one looks exactly like him. It's crazy. And the oldest one has so many of the mannerisms and temperaments of him, but he was just an all around a quiet soul, but just liked excitement and living on the edge. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing him with us.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me.
Of course. What would you like to tell the listeners about how they can find you for the next 2 weeks?
You're right. Well, that is all the healing and energy work. So that, I mean, that part of me is really winding down, but I'm really going back into the cards and journals now. So mostly the cards. The journal I'm going to let go when it sells out, I think. But so those are at soullesscards with an S.com. So those can be found there. They can be found on Amazon, Etsy, Fair. And my email is Lisa at ladelle.iverson.com. So it's L and then ADELLEIVERSON.com. I'm here. I'm here to help. So you email me if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. And then I'll give you my number and all of that.
Beautiful. I'll make sure all of that is in the show notes.
Oh,
And
cool.
thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story and your son with us. And thank you for everybody who's listening. And we'll be back next week with another story of someone's loss and their loved one.